After 10 years of being left out, I bought a beachfront resort and booked it solid. I told my mom, just like your house, mine's out of room. They got back exactly what they gave. Imagine spending a decade being invisible to the people who were supposed to be your closest allies, your family. For years, I was the forgotten middle child, consistently shut out of family gatherings, especially from the one place that symbolized their perfect life, our beach house. But then, a moment came. A moment of ultimate comeuppance when my mother, who'd made it clear I didn't fit, called, unknowingly asking to be accommodated in the very empire I'd built from the ashes of their rejection. If you've ever had to stand up for yourself against family who just took you for granted, then you probably get it. I'm Samantha, I'm 34 now, but my story really starts back in a middle-class suburb just outside of Boston. There were 5 of us, my parents, Caroline and Richard, my older brother Ryan, and my younger sister Megan. From very early on, the family dynamic was crystal clear. Megan was Mom's obvious favorite, Ryan was Dad's fishing buddy, and me? Well, I was just there. My mother, Caroline, was a high school English teacher with a flair for the dramatic and an almost obsessive need for everything to appear perfect. She'd grown up pretty poor, but she married my father, an accountant whose career steadily progressed. Mom always had these big dreams of social climbing, and she projected those ambitions onto us kids in really different ways. The favoritism towards Megan was undeniable, even when I was too young to fully understand it. I'd bring home straight A's, and Mom would just glance at my report card, maybe say, "That's nice, honey," before rushing off to hang Megan's C++ art project on the refrigerator. "Look at the creativity," she'd gush. Meanwhile, Ryan could do no wrong in my father's eyes. His average grades? Focusing on the important things. His participation trophies? Displayed proudly in the living room like they were Olympic medals. Dad was a quiet man. He absolutely avoided conflict at all costs. Whenever I tried to talk to him about the unfair treatment, he'd just pat my shoulder and say, "Your mother means well," or, "That's just how families are, Sammy." His passivity, his inability to step up, basically enabled that dynamic to continue unchecked for years. Then, when I was 13, everything changed financially for us. Dad got promoted to senior management, and suddenly, we had disposable income. After years of listening to Mom talk about her childhood friend's family beach house, my parents finally bought their own place in Cape Cod. It was modest, but beautiful, a 3-bedroom house with private beach access. It became the crown jewel of our family, the place Mom could finally entertain her friends and really show off her achievement of the American dream. Those first few summers at the beach house were actually pretty pleasant. I remember helping Dad grill seafood on the deck, watching the sunset. Building sandcastles with Megan before she became a teenager and decided I was completely uncool. And long walks on the shore with my first high school boyfriend. But even during those good times, there were signs of what was to come. In family photos taken at the beach house, I was always positioned on the edge, or partially hidden behind someone else. "Samantha, move back a bit. The sun is catching your glasses," Mom would direct, even on cloudy days. In the framed photos that made it onto the walls of our main house, I'd notice I was often cropped out entirely. My academic achievements continued to be overshadowed by my siblings' lesser accomplishments. When I was accepted into an advanced science program, Mom merely nodded, already busy preparing for Ryan's basketball game. When I won the state science competition, she was occupied helping Megan prepare for a minor role in a school play. "Your father, and I can't be everywhere at once, Samantha," she'd say with exasperation whenever I expressed disappointment. The beach house became Caroline's ultimate status symbol. She joined the local yacht club despite us not owning a yacht, and started hosting elaborate weekend gatherings for her Cape friends, mostly other homeowners she desperately wanted to fit in with. During these events, I was always assigned to kitchen duty or asked to keep an eye on the younger kids, while Megan was introduced around as my youngest, so talented in the arts. By the time I graduated high school as valedictorian, I had grown accustomed to my background role. I'd built a life around academic success and a small circle of close friends who valued me for who I was. I really thought going to college would change the dynamic, that perhaps distance would make my family appreciate me more. I couldn't have been more wrong. The real exclusion began when I decided to attend MIT instead of my mother's alma mater, Wellesley College. "Engineers aren't very feminine, dear," she commented when I showed her my acceptance letter, "and you already struggle with that." The subtle digs at my appearance had been a constant throughout my adolescence. I preferred practical clothing over the dresses and makeup Mom tried to force on me. My first semester at MIT was challenging, but exhilarating. I finally found my people, other women in STEM who understood the passion I had for solving problems and building things. When Memorial Day weekend approached at the end of my sophomore year, I expected to join the family at Cape Cod, as we always had. The Wednesday before the long weekend, I called home to coordinate my arrival time. "Oh, Samantha," Mom said, sounding genuinely surprised. "We assumed you'd be too busy with your new internship. We've already invited the Hendersons to use your room." I had mentioned the internship once, in passing. It wasn't even starting until mid-June. That was the first accidental exclusion, but it set the pattern. When I tried to discuss my hurt feelings the next time I visited home, Mom responded with, "You're being overly sensitive, as usual. We thought you were focused on your career. Don't make this about you." Over the next few years, the pattern became unmistakable. Invitations to family gatherings at the beach house came last minute, if at all. It was always a spur-of-the-moment thing, they'd claim, despite the elaborate preparations evident in the Instagram photos my sister would post. The Thanksgiving of my senior year at MIT marked a turning point. I arrived home to find my bedroom had been converted into what Mom called a crafting room for her new hobby. "You can sleep on the pull-out couch in the den," she informed me casually. "You're only here for a few days anyway." Meanwhile, Ryan's childhood bedroom remained untouched, complete with his high school sports trophies, despite him having moved to Chicago years before. That Christmas, I received a text from Mom 3 days before the holiday. "We're doing Christmas at the Cape House this year. It'll be cozy with the Wilsons joining us. Not enough space for everyone, so we thought you'd prefer to celebrate with your roommates since you mentioned how close you all are." I hadn't mentioned anything of the sort. I had started dating Ethan during my final year at MIT. He was studying architecture at Harvard, and he was the first person outside my friend group to really notice and point out the exclusion pattern. "It's not normal, Sam," he said after I was forgotten from a family 4th of July gathering. "They're gaslighting you." Over the next 5 years, I made countless attempts to repair whatever was broken in our family dynamic. I sent thoughtful gifts, made regular calls, and visited whenever I was allowed to do so. During one rare visit to the beach house, I overheard my brother Ryan tell his wife, "I know it's not fair how they treat Sam, but Mom gets so defensive if anyone brings it up." Yet, he never stood up for me publicly. As a way to process what was happening, I began documenting the exclusions, saving text messages, emails, and social media posts that showcased the pattern. My therapist suggested this wasn't obsessive, but rather a way to validate my experiences when my family was trying to convince me it was all in my head. The emotional toll was immense. I remember seeing Instagram photos of a family vacation to Martha's Vineyard that I knew absolutely nothing about. Everyone was smiling, even extended family members I barely knew. I broke down in my apartment, sobbing until my roommate found me curled up on the bathroom floor. That was when I started therapy. Dr. Lisa Hartman helped me understand the dynamics of family scapegoating and how my mother's narcissistic tendencies had cast me in the role of outsider. "You can't change them," she explained gently, "but you can change how you respond to the situation." The final straw came during a Labor Day weekend, 5 years after graduation. Not only was I not invited to the beach house gathering, but my mother had the audacity to invite Ethan, my boyfriend of 3 years. "We thought you'd be busy with work as usual, but Ethan mentioned he's never been to Cape Cod," she said when I confronted her. Ethan declined, of course, but the message was clear. It wasn't about space or timing. They simply didn't want me there. After years of trying to earn my family's approval and inclusion, I made a conscious decision. I would channel my hurt into professional success. If I couldn't find belonging in my family, I would create my own path where I was valued. I started my career at a promising tech startup in Boston, developing software for property management systems. The irony wasn't lost on me, helping others manage their vacation properties while being excluded from my own families. The job was demanding but rewarding, and I quickly established myself as a problem solver who could bridge the gap between technical challenges and business needs. While working full-time, I began moonlighting on a side project. Having experienced firsthand the emotional connection people have to vacation properties, I recognized a gap in the market. Existing rental platforms were transactional, but I envisioned something more personal, a platform that would connect travelers with unique coastal properties while also telling the stories of these special places. I named it Coastal Connect, and I coded the first version myself on weekends and late nights. When a small test launch showed promising results, I took the biggest risk of my life. I approached several venture capital firms with my prototype and business plan. To my surprise and delight, Horizon Ventures saw the potential and offered initial funding. Leaving my stable job was terrifying, but exhilarating. For the first time in my life, I was pursuing something that was entirely mine. No family expectations, no judgments attached to it. I rented a tiny office space and hired 2 employees, a fellow MIT graduate named Aisha who handled back-end development, and Marcus, a marketing specialist who truly understood my vision of creating emotional connections to places. The first 2 years were a roller coaster. We faced technical challenges, competitor pressure, and the constant stress of runway concerns. There were nights I slept on the office couch, weeks when I forgot to call anyone outside work, and moments of doubt when I wondered if I'd made a catastrophic mistake. But we persevered. Our unique approach of highlighting the stories behind coastal properties, the family who built the lakeside cabin by hand, the historic lighthouse converted to a guest house, the beachfront cottage where a famous novel was written, resonated with both property owners and travelers seeking meaning in their vacation experiences. By year 3, we had expanded to 15 employees. By year 5, we crossed the 100-employee mark and moved into a proper office overlooking Boston Harbor. The platform now featured properties across all coastal regions of the United States, with plans to expand internationally. When Forbes included me in their 30 Under 40 list, profiling innovative entrepreneurs changing their industries, I sent a copy to my parents. My father called with congratulations. My mother sent a text, "Nice photo. Glad that business degree from Wellesley worked out for you." I had graduated from MIT with a computer science degree. The financial independence that came with success truly provided what I craved. My chosen family expanded. Colleagues became friends, mentors became confidants, and clients became supporters. We celebrated company milestones with genuine joy, had heated debates about product direction that ended in hugs, and supported each other through personal challenges. This was what family was supposed to feel like. My relationship with Ethan, unfortunately, couldn't withstand my success. "You're never present anymore," he complained during our 5th year together. The truth was more complicated. As I grew more confident and established in my identity, I became less willing to accommodate his need to be the more successful partner. When he referred to my company as "your little website" during a dinner with his colleagues, I realized we had no future together. Dating as a successful female entrepreneur proved challenging in ways I hadn't expected. Men were either intimidated by my success or saw me as a trophy to acquire. I had a few short relationships that ended when they realized I wouldn't diminish myself to suit their egos. I was no longer the accommodating middle child desperate for approval. Then, I met James at a tech conference in Seattle. He was running a nonprofit focused on teaching coding skills to foster youth, having grown up in the system himself. When I shared some of my family history, he nodded with understanding rather than pity. "Family isn't always blood," he said. "Sometimes it's who actually shows up for you." His emotional intelligence and complete comfort with my success were refreshing. As Coastal Connect continued to grow, we attracted acquisition offers from larger travel platforms. After careful consideration with my team and advisors, we decided to remain independent but pursue an IPO. The day our company went public was surreal. Watching the opening bell with my team, seeing our years of hard work validated, knowing that I had created something of lasting value. At 33, I became a multimillionaire, at least on paper. The financial security was nice, but the true reward was proving to myself that I could create something meaningful from the pain of exclusion. I had turned my understanding of belonging into a successful business that helped others create memories in special places. The discovery of what would become my own beachfront property happened entirely by accident. I was on a business trip to Florida's Gulf Coast, scouting potential premium properties for a new exclusive collection tier on Coastal Connect. James had joined me, turning the business trip into a mini vacation. We were driving along a less developed stretch of coastline when I spotted it, a modest but charming resort with a weathered "For Sale" sign swinging in the sea breeze. Serenity Shores Resort, the sign read, with a phone number below. Something about the property called to me, and I asked James to pull over. Walking the grounds, I was struck by an unexpected sense of déjà vu. The main building had the same weathered cedar shingles as my parents' Cape Cod house, but on a larger scale. The property featured a central lodge with reception and common areas, plus 12 separate cottage units facing the ocean, each with its own private deck. The resemblance to an expanded version of my family's beach house was uncanny. "It looks like your mom's place," James observed quietly as we peered through windows, but with room for everyone. My first thought was that purchasing it would be an act of petty revenge, a way to say, "I have my own beach house now, and it's better than yours." I dismissed the idea as childish, and we continued our tour of properties. But that night, in our hotel room, I couldn't stop thinking about Serenity Shores. The next morning, I called the number on the sign and arranged to meet with the property agent. Lisa, a straightforward woman in her 50s, gave us a proper tour and shared the resort's history. Built in the 1970s by a couple who wanted to create a family-friendly beach retreat, it had passed to their son, who had maintained it lovingly, but was now retiring to Arizona to be near grandchildren. "It's been in the same family for almost 50 years, Lisa explained. "They're hoping to find a buyer who will keep its character rather than tear it down for condos." The price was substantial, but not unreasonable, given the prime beachfront location. Still, I hesitated. Was I considering this purchase for the right reasons? I consulted with my financial advisor, Morgan, who reviewed the property details with professional detachment. Sentimentality aside, she concluded, it's actually a solid investment. Tourism in this area is growing steadily. The property is well maintained with good bones, and beachfront real estate in Florida isn't exactly going to decrease in value. I spent the next week researching everything about the resort: occupancy rates, revenue history, renovation needs, local regulations, and future development plans for the area. The more I learned, the more I could see its potential, not just as an emotional purchase, but as a sound business decision. 2 weeks later, I arranged to meet the owners, Eleanor and Henry Thompson, over dinner at a local seafood restaurant. They shared stories of the families who had been coming to Serenity Shores for generations, the wedding proposals on the beach, the milestone anniversaries celebrated in the gathering room. "We're not just selling a property," Eleanor said, her eyes misting slightly. "We're passing on a place where people have made their most precious memories." Something shifted in me during that conversation. This wasn't about one-upping my mother anymore. It was about creating a place of genuine welcome, the opposite of what I had experienced for so many years. I made an offer the next day, slightly below asking price, but with a promise to maintain the character of the resort and retain the current staff. After some negotiation and a slightly increased offer, the Thompsons accepted. The closing process took 2 months, during which I flew down twice more to walk the property and begin planning improvements. The night after closing, I stayed alone in the owner's cottage, now my cottage, sitting on the deck with a glass of wine, watching the sunset over the Gulf. I felt a complex mixture of emotions: pride in what I had accomplished, lingering sadness for the family bonds I had never truly had, excitement for what this place could become, and a surprising sense of peace. The renovations began the following week. I hired a renowned interior designer, Sophia Chen, who specialized in coastal properties. Together, we created a vision that honored the resort's history while elevating its comfort and appeal. I want every guest to feel the sense of belonging that I had searched for my whole life, I explained to Sophia. I want it to feel warm and welcoming, but not pretentious. A place where people can exhale and feel at home, regardless of where they come from. Each cottage was updated with modern amenities while maintaining its unique character. The main lodge was reconfigured to create more gathering spaces, a library with oversized chairs for reading, a game room that would appeal to all ages, a state-of-the-art kitchen for cooking classes featuring local seafood. I took particular pleasure in adding features that my mother's precious beach house lacked: a stunning infinity pool overlooking the ocean, private cabanas for quiet relaxation, and a fire pit surrounded by comfortable seating for evening gatherings under the stars. Every addition was made with genuine guests in mind, not as a showcase for impressing others. As the renovation neared completion, I decided to change the name. While Serenity Shores had served the resort well, I wanted something that reflected my vision for its future. After much consideration, I settled on Harmony Haven, a place where diverse people could come together in a harmonious environment, finding the sense of welcome and belonging that I had sought for so long. Looking at the resort's transformation, I realized I had created something far more significant than a response to my family's rejection. I had built a physical manifestation of the welcome I had always craved, and now I could extend that welcome to others. News of my resort purchase reached my family through the most predictable channel: social media. I had posted a few professional photos of Harmony Haven on my Instagram account, mentioning my excitement about this new venture. Within hours, a mutual family friend had texted my mother. Caroline's phone call came the next day, her voice carrying that familiar tone of forced casualness that always preceded criticism. "Samantha, darling," she began without preamble, "Janice Peterson showed me pictures of some hotel you've bought in Florida. Isn't that a rather impulsive decision for someone in?" I explained that it was actually a 12-cottage beachfront resort, not a motel, and that I had done extensive due diligence before purchasing. "It's a sound investment with excellent growth potential," I added, knowing the business justification would be my strongest defense. "Well, I just hope you know what you're doing," she replied. "Property management is complicated. Your father and I have had the Cape House for 20 years, and it's constant work." I bit back the observation that I'd been excluded from that house for half of those 20 years, and instead thanked her for her concern. The conversation ended with her typical dismissive, "Well, good luck with that," that had punctuated so many of our interactions over the years. My brother Ryan was next, sending a congratulatory text that quickly segued into, "So, when can the family come for free vacation, LOL?" When I didn't immediately respond with an open invitation, he followed up with, "Just kidding, sis, but seriously, we should plan a family get-together there sometime." Megan's response was perhaps the most predictable. She posted a throwback photo of our family's Cape Cod house with the caption, "Nothing beats the original family beach house. So many precious memories here with Mom, Dad, and Ryan. #blessed #family tradition." Conspicuously excluding any mention of me or my new property. I might have let all of this slide, if not for what happened next. My parents' 35th wedding anniversary was approaching, and my mother had been planning a celebration at the Cape House for months. I knew this because Ryan had mentioned it casually during one of our infrequent phone calls. "Mom's going all out for their anniversary in July," he'd said. "You should try to make it if you can." 2 weeks later, a formal invitation arrived in my mail, an ivory card with embossed gold lettering announcing a weekend celebration of Caroline and Richard's 35 years of marriage at the Cape Cod house. At the bottom, in smaller print, "We regret that due to space limitations, we cannot accommodate everyone for overnight stays." I sent a generous gift, a weekend package at a luxury spa resort near their home, along with a heartfelt card expressing my regret that I couldn't attend due to prior commitments with Harmony Haven's opening preparations. The gift was delivered with signature confirmation, but I never received so much as a text acknowledging it. Through Ryan's wife's Instagram posts, I discovered that not only had several distant cousins been invited to stay at the house for the anniversary weekend, but also 2 couples I had never met, apparently new friends from my mother's garden club. The space limitations were clearly selective. James found me crying in our Boston apartment after seeing these posts. "You know this isn't about you, right?" he said gently. "This is about her inability to celebrate your success." I bought a whole resort partly because they said their house was too small for me. I admitted through tears. "How pathetic is that?" "It's not pathetic," James countered. "You took pain and turned it into something beautiful and successful. But now you have a choice about how to use it. This resort can be about revenge, or it can be about healing." His words stayed with me as I finalized plans for Harmony Haven's grand opening, which coincidentally fell on the same weekend as my parents' anniversary celebration. I had initially considered postponing it when I realized the conflict, but now decided to proceed as planned. Instead of focusing on my family's exclusion, I created a guest list that included people who had supported me throughout my journey, my first employees at Coastal Connect, mentors who had guided me, friends who had provided shoulders to cry on after particularly painful family incidents, and even several people I knew who had similar experiences with family estrangement. I hired a renowned chef to create a menu highlighting local specialties, engaged a popular local band for entertainment, and arranged for a photographer to document the event. The resort would be fully booked for the opening weekend, with each cottage hosting special guests who had made a difference in my life. As preparations progressed, I posted occasional updates on social media, professional photos of the completed renovations, teaser menus from the chef, announcements about some minor celebrities who would be attending. I wasn't doing this to provoke my family, but I wasn't hiding my success either. About a week before the grand opening, I received an unexpected call from my mother. The resort's renovation had been featured in a regional lifestyle magazine, which apparently one of her Cape Cod friends had seen. "Samantha," she began without preamble, "Judith Whitman showed me an article about your Florida place. It looks quite nice. More commercial than our beach house, of course, but impressive for a first property." I thanked her politely, waiting for whatever would come next. "Your father and I were thinking we might drive down to see it sometime, perhaps after our anniversary celebration. Is there a good time in August?" For a moment, I was that hopeful middle child again, eager for any scrap of parental attention. Then I remembered James's words about healing versus revenge and realized there was a third option: healthy boundaries. "I'd be happy to show you around," I replied carefully, "but August is actually our busiest month. We're fully booked through Labor Day, in fact. Maybe sometime in the fall would work better." There was a pause on the line. "Fully booked? But surely you have some pull as the owner? You could make arrangements for family." And there it was. The expectation that had defined our relationship for so long. Family meant accommodating her needs, while she accommodated everyone but me. "I take the guest experience very seriously," I explained. "I don't override bookings, even for family. Especially for opening season, when we're establishing our reputation." Her tone chilled considerably. "I see. Well, your father and I were hoping to combine it with a visit to the Hendersons in Naples, but never mind. We'll figure something out." The conversation ended shortly after, but I knew this wasn't the last I would hear about it. My mother had never responded well to having her expectations challenged, and I had just established a boundary she hadn't anticipated. Sure enough, the next day brought a text from my father. "Your mother is quite upset. Perhaps you could make an exception for our anniversary." It was the closest he had ever come to directly asking me for something, which made the manipulation all the more effective. I spent an hour drafting and redrafting my response before sending it. "I'm sorry, Dad, but the resort is genuinely fully booked through September with non-refundable reservations. I'd love to host you and Mom in October when we have our fall specials. You could stay in our premium oceanfront cottage for as long as you'd like." His response was brief: "We'll discuss it and get back to you." I knew what that meant. They wouldn't be coming, at least not until my mother found a way to position it as her idea. The week before Harmony Haven's grand opening was a whirlwind of final preparations. The landscaping crew put finishing touches on the tropical gardens, the housekeeping staff meticulously prepared each cottage, and the kitchen team practiced the special menu until every dish was perfect. As the owner, I was involved in every aspect, from approving the custom-blended bath products to selecting the locally roasted coffee beans for the welcome baskets. The first guests began arriving 2 days before the official opening, close friends and early supporters who had helped make both Coastal Connect and Harmony Haven possible. I had arranged for a pre-opening dinner on the beach, a casual affair with tiki torches, local seafood, and acoustic music. Standing on the deck, overlooking this gathering of people who had truly seen and supported me, I felt a profound sense of gratitude. These were the people who had celebrated my successes and comforted me through disappointments. They had never made me feel like an afterthought or an inconvenience. This, I realized, was what true family could be. James joined me on the deck, sliding his arm around my waist. "You did this," he said quietly, following my gaze to the happy gathering below. "You created not just a beautiful place, but a beautiful community." The official opening day arrived with Perfect. Me Resort is too fully booked to accommodate you next weekend. The moment the words left my mouth, I saw the shock register on her face. For perhaps the first time in our relationship, I had named the pattern directly instead of accepting her excuses. "That's entirely different," she said, her voice rising slightly. "Our house is small, you know that. We can't always fit everyone. And yet somehow, there's always room for everyone except me," I replied, keeping my voice level. "Ryan, Megan, distant cousins, your garden club friends. They all seem to fit just fine." "I don't appreciate your tone," she said, straightening in her chair. "I've come all this way to support you, and this is how you thank me? By bringing up ancient history and making accusations." "It's not ancient history, Mom. It's a consistent pattern that continues to this day. I wasn't invited to your anniversary celebration until you saw my resort and decided it might benefit you." Her face flushed. "That is absolutely untrue. We always wanted you there. There were simply complications with the accommodations." "There always are," I said quietly. "But the truth is, I've built something here that I'm proud of. I've created a place where people feel welcomed and valued, the opposite of how I felt in my own family for years." "I don't have to listen to this," she said, dropping her napkin on the table and standing up. "I came here to support you and to try to include you in our special celebration, and you've turned it into some sort of childish revenge." I remained seated, looking up at her calmly. "This isn't about revenge, Mom. It's about boundaries. I would love to have you and Dad visit the resort when we have availability. October is beautiful here, and I'd be happy to reserve our best cottage for you then." "October?" she scoffed. "That's months away. We wanted to combine it with our anniversary trip." "Just like your house, Mom. Mine's out of room too," I said simply. "I'm honoring the commitments I've made to the people who are actually here for me, not just when it's convenient or makes them look good, but consistently, through everything." She stared at me for a long moment, a mixture of anger and something that might have been a flicker of realization crossing her face. Then she gathered her designer purse and squared her shoulders. "I'll be leaving now. Please have someone bring my car around." "I'll walk you out," I offered, standing up. "That won't be necessary," she replied coldly. "I can find my own way. I always do." As she walked away across the restaurant patio, her white linen suit bright against the blue ocean backdrop, I felt a strange combination of sadness and liberation. For the first time in my adult life, I had named the reality of our relationship and held firm to a boundary. Whether she acknowledged it or not, something fundamental had shifted between us. And regardless of how she chose to respond, I knew I would no longer measure my worth by her approval or inclusion. Despite the dramatic confrontation with my mother, Harmony Haven's grand opening weekend was an unqualified success. The resort received glowing coverage in travel magazines and on social media, with particular praise for the thoughtful design, exceptional service, and warm atmosphere. Several guests extended their stays, and our booking calendar quickly filled through the fall season. The emotional aftermath of my mother's visit took longer to process. I found myself cycling through familiar feelings of guilt, anger, and sadness in the weeks that followed. Had I been too harsh? Should I have found a way to accommodate her just this once? The old patterns of self-doubt were hard to break. James was my rock during this time, listening without judgment as I worked through these complex emotions. "You set a healthy boundary," he reminded me. "That's different from rejecting her." My family's reactions were mixed and predictable. My father called a week after the confrontation, his voice carrying its usual conflict-avoidant tone. Your mother is quite upset, Samantha. Perhaps you could call and apologize for the sake of family harmony. I'm open to talking with her, I replied carefully, but I won't apologize for stating the truth or setting boundaries. Ryan surprised me with an unexpected show of support. He called late one evening after the kids were in bed. I saw the photos of your resort, he said. It's amazing, Sam. And I know Mom has always been harder on you. I should have said something years ago. Why didn't you? I asked, not accusingly, but genuinely curious. His sigh carried years of complicated family dynamics. It was easier not to. I'm not proud of that. Megan, predictably, doubled down on her loyalty to our mother, posting a series of throwback photos from family gatherings at the Cape House with captions about true family values and supporting parents in their golden years. I simply muted her accounts rather than engaging. As summer transitioned to fall, I channeled my energy into making Harmony Haven everything I had envisioned. We established a quarterly chosen family weekend, offering special rates and activities for groups of friends who consider themselves family. These weekends quickly became some of our most popular events, often booking out months in advance. Inspired by my own journey, I created a scholarship program for young entrepreneurs from difficult family backgrounds, providing both financial support and mentoring. The application essays I read reinforced what I already knew. Family trauma was common, but it didn't have to define one's future. In October, I received an unexpected email from my mother. The subject line read, "Simply thinking of you." The body of the email was brief. Your father and I have been reflecting on our family dynamics. If the October offer still stands, we would like to visit your resort. Caroline. It wasn't an apology, but it was an opening. After consulting with James and my therapist, I responded with dates that would work and confirmed that our best cottage would be available for them. I look forward to showing you Harmony Haven in the beautiful fall season, I wrote, with love, Samantha. Their visit was neither the complete reconciliation I had once desperately hoped for, nor the disaster I had sometimes feared. My father seemed genuinely impressed by what I had built, while my mother maintained a polite appreciation that occasionally revealed glimpses of genuine admiration. We had dinner together each night, carefully navigating conversations that stayed mostly in safe territory. On their final evening, as we shared dessert on the deck of my private cottage, my father cleared his throat in the way he always did before saying something difficult. I owe you an apology, Samantha, he said, surprising me. I should have been more present, more aware of how you were being treated. I failed you as a father. Tears sprang to my eyes unexpectedly. In all my imagined scenarios of family reconciliation, I had never anticipated my father taking this kind of responsibility. My mother didn't offer a direct apology, but later that evening as they prepared to leave, she held my hands in hers and said, "You've built something remarkable here, Samantha. Something entirely your own." I'm beginning to understand that now. It wasn't everything, but it was something. A crack in the wall of denial that had defined our relationship for so long. In the year that followed, our family relationship slowly evolved. Some improved. My father began calling regularly, genuinely interested in my life and business. Others maintained a polite distance. My mother and I established a pattern of monthly phone calls that stayed in safe conversational territory. And some remained complicated. Megan continued to view my success with a mixture of envy and resentment that made real connection difficult. James proposed on the private beach of Harmony Haven during a spectacular sunset in December, presenting a ring that represented our journey together. Not a traditional diamond, but a rare blue sea glass surrounded by small pearls. Because you turn the rough edges of life into something beautiful, he explained. As Harmony Haven celebrated its first anniversary, I reflected on the journey that had led me here. The resort had exceeded all business projections, but its true success couldn't be measured in occupancy rates or profit margins. Its greatest achievement was in becoming a place of genuine belonging for guests, for staff, for the community we had created, and ultimately for me. The exclusion that had once wounded me so deeply had led me to create a space specifically designed for inclusion. The rejection I had experienced had taught me the profound importance of welcome. The family that couldn't make room for me had inspired me to build a place with room for everyone. That's the thing about life's most painful experiences. They can destroy us, or they can transform us. They can make us smaller and more fearful, or they can challenge us to create something new and beautiful from the broken pieces. I chose to build rather than break. I chose to create rather than simply criticize. And in doing so, I found not just success, but healing. What about you? Have you ever turned pain into purpose or rejection into creation? How have difficult family dynamics shaped your life choices? Thank you for being part of my story today. And remember, sometimes the people who don't make room for you are unknowingly pushing you toward creating something bigger than they could ever imagine.